Good evening. Good evening. I'm Stephen Dean, and it is my great pleasure to welcome all of you here tonight to our convocation. I'm a vice dean and a professor here at Brooklyn Law School, and my role tonight is to be the first to say welcome, introduce you to our speakers representing our wonderful community of students, faculty, staff, and alumni, as well as the community of Brooklyn and the broader legal profession. I know you must be excited. We are excited for you. I'm thrilled to tell you that about some of the people who will speak to you tonight. We will start with one of you, because after all, the students are the heart of the law school. And I think you will see that you are joining a phenomenally diverse and supportive group of students. Just a moment ago, or so it seems, Giancarlo Martinez sat where you sit. Some of what I'll tell you about him won't surprise you. He graduated cum laude from the University of Delaware in 2015 with a degree in criminal justice. He is a president of the Brooklyn Law School Student Bar Association and is on Brooklyn Law Review. He just completed an internship with the U.S. Department of Justice's Federal Bureau of Prisons and is interned for Special Federal Litigation Division of the New York City Law Department and the Prosecutor's Office of Morris County, New Jersey. But here's where things really get interesting. He's a third-generation legacy here at Brooklyn Law School. His father, Antonio C. Martinez II, who graduated in 1990, is in the audience this evening. His grandfather, the late Antonio C. Martinez, Esquire, was a member of the class of 1956 and one of the first Dominican-American members of the New York State Bar. Giancarlo Martinez.
Thank you so much, Dean. That was an introduction. Good evening, everybody. Thank you, Dean Allard, Dean Boyd, Brooklyn Law School faculty and friends for giving me the opportunity to speak tonight. I'm honored to have the privilege to address you all, the incoming class of 2019, 2020, and 2021, whether part-time, full-time, or accelerated. When I wrote this speech, I thought to myself, what can I share with everyone that will hopefully have a lasting impact on their law school journey? And I began to think about what I was expecting when I was just starting my law school journey, about how the classes were going to be like. Are the professors going to be strict? Should I be nervous or should I be excited? And most importantly, what the heck is this cold calling thing like? It seems so mysterious, nerve-wracking, and exciting all at the same time. Now, the summer before I started BLS, I interned for a company in Washington, D.C. for a month. There, I received what I believe was the most important advice about law school from a practicing attorney who recently graduated and was working in the D.C. area. What she has told me has helped me throughout law school, not just in the classroom, but also in the various legal internships I've had the opportunity to experience, as well as outside of law school. I'm going to share with you these 3 tips with you all tonight. Back when I was a kid, there was this show on Nickelodeon called Ned's Declassified School Survival Guide. I'm not sure if that rings any bells for anyone, but basically it was a silly show about how a kid could survive high school, and he would give advice or some tips. Now, after much thought and taking property and copyright law classes, I cannot copy that name for a title, as I may be in violation of copyright law. However, my advice isn't about surviving law school. It's about making the most out of your experience during your 2, 3, or 4 years here. So, to start, tip number 1, be focused. This may sound like common sense, but let me elaborate a little bit. While you're here, you'll learn how to write, think, and speak like a lawyer does. You'll get good at it too. Simple discussions prior to law school that started out with, where do you want to eat? Or what do you want to do tonight? Reach a whole new level. And I'm just kidding. My girlfriend would probably not be too happy if I argued about that with her. But joking aside, you do learn these new skills that law school offers, and they don't develop overnight. They take practice, work, and determination. It isn't easy. It requires you to read and, most importantly, understand the material assigned to you. You'll read many types of legal literature that include some wacky cases that set some important precedents, and some very old cases that may not mean a lot today, but are important to understand because of what they stand for. In your legal writing class, you'll learn to write that like no grade school or college course had ever taught you. My intention is not to make anyone more nervous about law school, but I want to highlight the importance of staying focused during your years here. Law school is a marathon, not a sprint. Do the assigned readings, take notes in class, ask your professors about things that don't make sense to you. They're here to help you and guide you through law school. Don't lose focus of your goals and the reasons why you came to law school. Be focused throughout. Tip number 2, get involved and follow your passion. Having chosen a law school that's in the heart of Brooklyn in New York City, you made a wise decision. Remember, as lawyers, we're going to be charged to make our country and communities better places through our service. Justice, equality, and opportunities will be determined by our efforts. We will be entrusted with our clients' quality of life whenever they require our services. Let the idea of becoming a lawyer always be an honor, because it is. With that in mind, let your passion for the law take you to new heights during your time at BLS. The Brooklyn Law School community offers so many opportunities for you to get involved, and I highly recommend doing so because there's absolutely something for everyone. For law students specifically, BLS offers organizations that cater to many different students' interests. For example, if you're passionate about a specific area of law, such as health law or criminal law, there are student organizations for that. Or if you're passionate about helping protect the rights and advance the interest of animals through the legal system, there's an on-campus organization offered as well. Not only are there law school-specific organizations, there are some such as the BLS softball team that cater to students' hobbies and life outside of law school. New York City itself also offers so much to do, and I highly recommend taking advantage of every opportunity you see that interests you. Finally, my third and most important tip, stay true to yourself. Now, when I first heard this from an attorney in DC, I didn't understand what it meant. Throughout my law school journey, I came to realize the importance of this advice. As many of you may realize or come to realize, your law school journey is not an easy path. It requires hard work, dedication, and intensive study. It can be stressful and it can be unbearable at times. But that's where this tip comes in. Don't forget who you were before you started your journey here. Don't give up the things that made you, you, before law school. If you're a movie or show geek like I am, take some time to enjoy your favorite show or go to the movies. For those Game of Thrones fans out there, I would never miss a Sunday night premiere of a new episode, no matter what I had on Monday. Speaking of Sunday finale, if you're stressed out and just want to take a break, take a break. Explore New York City. Take a walk down by Brooklyn Bridge Park. Get some ice cream with some friends. And don't forget your friends and family too. Sometimes it's hard for your non-law school friends to understand what you're going through, because law school is a demanding, different experience. Call your parents, visit your family members sometimes, go out to lunch or dinner with your spouse or significant other. This will help you in times where you may think law school is consuming your life. But most importantly, make sure you're happy with you. With that said, that ends my quick list of tips. Before I go, I'd like to leave you with a quote that is prominently displayed in the stairwell of the BLS library. It's from a movie called A League of Their Own, which I highly recommend for everyone to see because it's, in general, just a great movie. Tom Hanks' character says this, which I believe speaks true about law school. It's supposed to be hard. If it wasn't hard, everyone would do it. The hard is what makes it great. Congratulations to everybody, and I wish you all the best in your journeys. Thank you.
Thank you, Giancarlo. So the Brooklyn Law School community begins with our students, but it does not end there. Our school is part of a vibrant legal ecosystem that encompasses lawyers of many different stripes, many serving clients, but others serving the broader interests of the legal community. It is my pleasure to introduce you to one of the judges that we consider to be part of our Brooklyn Law School community, Robert A. Katzman. Judge Katzman is the Chief Judge for the U.S. Court of Appeals for the Second Circuit. He became Chief Judge on September 1st, 2013. He has also been the Walsh Professor of Government, Professor of Law, and Professor of Public Policy at Georgetown University, and a Fellow of the Governmental Studies Program of the Brookings Institution. A lawyer and a political scientist by training, Judge Katzman received his A.B. summa cum laude from Columbia College, A.M. and Ph.D. in Government from Harvard, and a J.D. from the Yale Law School. He's received numerous awards, including the American Political Science Association's Charles A. Merriam Award, the Learned Hand Medal for Excellence in Federal Jurisprudence of the Federal Bar Council, and the Chesterfield Smith Award of the Pro Bono Institute, among many others. And we are happy to say that he has agreed, I think, is that right, to sign copies of his book, Judging Statutes, during the reception this evening. Judge Katzman.
Dean. That's really who he is. His name is Stephen Dean, and he's a dean. So, Dean Allard, Giancarlo Martinez, Wanda Denson Lowe, David Reese. Welcome, all of you here, to this wonderful convocation. For me, as the Chief Judge of the United States Court of Appeals for the Second Circuit, it is really a privilege and an honor to be before you. Because from my perspective, the Brooklyn Law School is simply a fantastic law school, and its contributions to the law, to the public good, have been enormous. And so to be here welcoming, as part of the welcoming gathering of all of you today is for me an honor and a privilege. And when you look at these walls and you look at the portraits on these walls, you will see some great judges. Judges like Edward Corman, Leo Glasser, David Traeger. These are all graduates of the Brooklyn Law School. And if you want to think also of some other great judges, federal judges, you only need to look to Claire Kelly, judge on the Court of International Trade, and also a former professor, I guess still a professor, at Brooklyn Law School. So this school has a very illustrious past, and because of you, it will have an illustrious future. Let me tell you about, from my perspective, some of the great things about this school. First, it begins in some sense with the leadership. And Dean Allard has been a leading participant in the effort to break down barriers to the legal profession. He has been a vigorous advocate of Brooklyn Law School. You could not have a more dedicated person eager to see that each one of you succeed than Dean Allard. And that's a very important thing, because when you see Dean Allard, somebody who, and you read his resume, of course you'll be impressed by his record, the Yale Law School, the fact that he was a major lawyer in Washington, D.C., worked on Senate staffs, is someone of great consequence in the legal profession. But he's also somebody who is fully approachable and fully accessible. And so you're very fortunate to have somebody who is working 24/7 on your behalf. And I think you will find that it's not just these 3 years that you will get to know him, but in the years thereafter. What is also very impressive about Brooklyn Law School is its alumni. And seated here on this program is Wanda Denson Lowe, who you'll be hearing from. And she's been a leader in the corporate world. She is the vice chair of a major higher education institution, RPI, and she is a role model for all of you here tonight. You can think about your own aspirations and futures when you see somebody like Wanda Denson Lowe. And I know we'll be hearing from David Reese about some of the great work that his institute on the Center for Urban Business Entrepreneurship has been doing. So it's really a really prestigious panel that I find myself surrounded by. As the Chief Judge of the Second Circuit, I have a staff of extraordinary people, and very important to that staff is the workings of the Staff Attorney's Office. The Staff Attorney's Office consists of recent law school graduates who are support for the judges of the court. And I hope you'll think about the Staff Attorney's Office when you think about career employment. We look to Brooklyn Law School because of its excellence for these staff attorneys. And just the other day, I was talking to Amanda Levine and Stuart Gold, who are graduates of Brooklyn Law School and who are doing such a fantastic job for the judges of the Second Circuit. And we also have, from my personal perspective, you also graduate students who are terrific in whatever they do. One of my passions has been the Immigrant Justice Corps. The Immigrant Justice Corps is the country's first fellowship program dedicated to serving the needs of immigrants, poor immigrants, in need of counsel. Because without a lawyer, you basically have almost no chance in all too many cases. And when we think about our fellows, we only go for the best. And Brooklyn Law School has provided some terrific fellows. Satani Akdag, Scott Folletta, Jill Rudge, Paolo Uarte. These are some of the wonderful Brooklyn Law School graduates who are part of the Immigrant Justice Corps. So just the talent that you have from your law school should give you a sense of what an incredible place this is. And then when you look at the scholarship that the faculty does, it really just is mind-blowing, because it's not just scholarship that winds up on a shelf somewhere that's not very useful, but scholarship that is practical as well, and that we judges can use as we think about how to do our jobs. And so let me just tell you how impressed I am with that. So in the area of immigration, for example, why do we have such great people graduating with all these skills? It's because they learned it here in the immigration clinics. The work of Stacy Kaplow and Mary Fullerton. They've done things like Know Your Rights presentations. There have been students who have gone out to Texas. There have been students who have gone out during their vacation times to do pro bono work in the service of those in need. There are the legal lunches that the faculty has launched, a series for the community that focused on topics relevant to current issues. There is the scholarship that I've talked about, Miriam Barris, for example, on the independent counsel's investigations. Rebecca Kaiser, looking at tariff plans and their constitutionality. There's Jocelyn Simonson's work on bail reform. And oh yes, there was just a fantastic symposium that Joel Gora put together on free speech under fire. And if you haven't had a chance to look at it, it's the Journal of Law and Public Policy of Brooklyn Law School. And it is really something that really gives you a sense of the key issues of free speech. And it gathers together in one volume the major players: Floyd Abrams, Bert Newborn, Nadine Strawson, and of course, Joel Gora as well. And then there are those faculty members who are honored for their lifetime of achievements, like Roberta Carmel, who was presented with a William O. Douglas Award. She is really one of the major figures with respect to the SEC, and her extraordinary career is really something worth celebrating. So you're at a place that is truly amazing, and I hope that you will realize that each and every day. And as I look around here, I also see a lot of resources for one another. Look to the left of you and the right of you, in front of you and back of you. These are your cohorts. These are your friends. You're all in this together. And what I hope that each of you will do in the legal profession is to think beyond yourselves in the true Brooklyn Law School tradition. Think about how you can serve those in need. Think about how you can ensure justice for all. It's been a privilege to be here. Good luck, and I look forward to seeing you at the reception.
Thank you, Judge Ketzman. Once you begin here, you will quickly come to learn that there is a whole network of faculty, professionals, and especially alums who want to help you succeed. They are an enormous resource. The representative of our alumni community that you will meet tonight is Wanda Denson-Lowe. She retired as a senior vice president of the Office of Internal Governance for the Boeing Company, the world's leading aerospace company. At Boeing, she was a member of the company's executive council and also served as the company's vice president and assistant general counsel, leading the legal staff for the company's $30 billion Defense and Space Unit, BDS. She has nearly 30 years of experience in corporate law, commercial transactions, M&A, data rights, government contracts, and intellectual property law. Ms. Denson-Lowe is currently a member of the Board of Trustees for Rensselaer Polytechnic Institute, RPI, in Troy, New York. She's also served on the board of directors and trustees for the National YMCA, the Japanese American National Museum, the Windward School, and College Bound. Ms. Denson-Lowe earned her Juris Doctor from Brooklyn Law School and her bachelor's degree in chemistry from RPI. Wanda Denson-Lowe.
Distinguished faculty, Dean Allard, Dean, and most importantly, all of you in the audience, it really is my honor to be here. And I want you just for a minute to take a journey with me. Imagine a world with no email, no internet, no text, no Snapchat, no PCs, no cell phones, no word processing. Can all of you think what your world would be like without all of those things? Well, 38 years ago, when I sat in a room such as this, all of those things didn't exist. The world was very different then, and I was probably the person in the very last row, in the corner, trying to hide, because I was scared to death, anxious and fearful, and asking myself, did I really make the right choice coming to law school? I was a self-admitted nerd, an introvert, a chemistry major in a room full of poli-sci majors. They were very gregarious and chatty, and I was not. So I was terrified. And maybe some of you might admit just a little bit to having some of those same fears and anxieties. I certainly did. But when I heard the speakers begin to talk, I knew I was in the right place, and law school was my challenge. It was certainly a challenge 38 years ago. I didn't have parents who were professionals. I had no one to ask. Funding law school was a problem, but I had to figure out how to do it. One of the things that you may notice about my career, I was an intellectual property lawyer. I was one of the first chief patent counsels in the United States back in the 80s, which just means I'm old. I've been a general counsel for a $32 billion business. I've been vice president of HR for that same business. And I rose to become a senior vice president of the Office of Internal Governance. What's that? Basically, I was the global compliance officer for a $96 billion company. And all that means is introverts and nerds, we too have a place in law and in law school. And with every challenge, there was fear, there was anxiety, and there was nervousness, and that was okay. What I learned about my challenge in law was that either you thought I had ADD because I went to so many different things, but really it was that I liked challenges. And why did I like challenges? Because with each new challenge, I had to learn something new. I had to meet new people. And I had to force myself out of my comfort zone. I couldn't sit in the back, in the corner, and hide. And that is something, whether you're fearful or confident, you'll learn how important it is to have challenges. And law school is your challenge. As I listen to the speakers tonight, they bring different perspectives. Mr. Martinez, as a student soon to graduate, Judge Katzman as a distinguished jurist. And I look at myself as someone who has had at least some experiences that are quite different from theirs. And so I'll try and, at least from my perspective, share some of the things that I've learned. Be prepared. What does that mean? That means always doing more than is expected. Law school is not like college. In college, you could do the assignment, you could do the reading, you could do the problems, and you were good. You can't do that in law school. Being prepared is going beyond reading the assignment and briefing the cases. It's reading the Horn book. It's doing some ancillary reading. It's doing your outline. It's working with your study group. And it's always going that extra mile. Because whether it's law school or post-law school in a job, you will be successful, and being successful is your definition of whatever success means to you. It will happen because you are well prepared. And at this level, everyone is smart. Everyone is going to try and work hard. And so what you need to do is be more prepared than everyone else. With law school, it's not grasping the basic concepts. It's understanding the nuances in the law that you can't necessarily just glean from merely reading the cases. It means doing that extra. And those are the students who understand those nuances who excel. You have to be open in law school. And what does being open and flexible mean? I came here with the idea that I was going to be a legal aid attorney, and we all see how that turned out. And it was primarily because in 1981, when I graduated, there were 36,000 law school graduates that year and 21,000 jobs. So that meant there were still people from my class a year later from graduation who didn't have jobs. And so I had to be open and flexible. In that year, Even the law review students were going to legal aid. And so that had to think about what distinguished me from everyone else. And at that time, it was before intellectual property became all the rage. And so I said, well, gee, I have a technical background. I can distinguish myself in that how many people have a chemistry degree and a law degree. It may be more common today. It was very rare back then. Intellectual property law didn't take off till the mid-'80s. And so at that time, it was different. But I took that path. It gave me the opportunity to do chemistry and law, which was terrific. I got a job right out of school, and I was able to parlay that into some other opportunities that I was open to. As a vice president of HR for a $32 billion business, I can say I never aspired to be an HR person, nor did I seek out that opportunity. It came to me. And when they first offered it to me, I said, why would I want to do that? I'm a lawyer. But what I learned about the company I was working with at the time is that they often put people in leadership positions where they don't have subject matter expertise. Now, that may sound really strange, but what happens is they then learn how you lead when you have to rely on others' knowledge and expertise. So being open to opportunities that maybe you might not initially think were great, it turned out to be the best thing that I ever did. Why? I learned how to lead an organization of 5,000 HR professionals and to support an organization of 70,000 people. And that was benefits and pension and all kinds of things that became very useful to me when subsequently 2 years later, they came and said, gee, you've done this so well, we want you to be general counsel of this business now. And in companies, that's something that is different than in law firms. Now, with respect to law firms, as someone who was in the law department, what you see is a different side of the law, because I'm the person the senior partners at the law firm have to come to get business. And so you see that other side of the coin from being in a law firm. And so for those of you who are thinking about different areas of practice, don't assume the law firm is the only vehicle for you. There are tons of other jobs and opportunities out there that, though it may not be exactly what you want to do today, it may give you the skills that lead you to that dream job ultimately. So be prepared, be open, and be flexible. The last thing that I'll talk about is really integrity. And integrity in today's society is extremely important. And integrity means not just doing the right thing when no one else is watching, but doing the right thing even when that means it may not necessarily be popular. Lawyers are the vanguards of our society. And today, more than ever, with our system of government, having people who operate with integrity in whatever field and whatever they choose to do is extremely important to our society. So be prepared, be open, be flexible, and please, whatever you do, operate with integrity. You have a unique opportunity here at Brooklyn Law School. Stellar faculty, an amazing and approachable dean who bowled me over when I first met him. Why? Because he wasn't the stodgy, kind of academic type of dean. And a stodgy dean is not one I probably would have come all the way from California to meet with. He is amazing. The faculty here was always stellar, and they have continued to be just superb in what they teach and how they teach. And I'm not just saying that. The risk of outing my son is a Brooklyn Law School student. I'm not going to say who he is. But I am someone who doesn't give endorsements unless I really believe in them. And my son had the opportunity to go to many different law schools, and he chose Brooklyn. So be proud of where you go to school. There will be others, and I can tell you many, many stories about those lawyers who I had to work with and be on the opposing side of, who were from many prestigious schools and who assumed, because I went to Brooklyn Law School, that they maybe didn't give their best effort. They're sorry. You have a challenge before you. It's called law school. But as I listened to the conversation of the crowd walking over and heard snippets of the conversation, it's clear to me that all of you have the opportunity to be extraordinary. So have courage, challenge yourself, get out of your comfort zone, learn, be prepared, be open, be flexible, and enjoy your time at an amazing school. Thank you.
Thank you so much. That was really wonderful. As you have seen, our students, our community, and our alumni helped make us who we are. Our faculty forms another essential part of our team. Tonight you're going to hear from my colleague and friend, David Reese. Professor Reese's passion for real estate is legendary. You don't need to take my word for it. This past spring, he was named a Fellow of the American College of Real Estate Lawyers by the organization's Board of Governors. He is the founding director of the Community Development Clinic. He teaches a property law colloquium, and he's actively involved with the law school community, currently serving as the academic programs director for the Center for Urban Business Entrepreneurship, or CUBE. His writing focuses on secondary mortgage markets, predatory lending, and housing policy. In addition, his comments appear frequently in publications such as the New York Times, the Wall Street Journal, and the Christian Science Monitor. Professor David Reese.
So unfortunately, Judge Katzman, I'm not going to talk about the Center for Urban Business Entrepreneurship, nor am I going to talk about real estate. But in today's times, I was going to talk about something that I've been thinking about a lot more recently. I'm going to talk about taking oaths. And some of you have already taken oaths. Some of you have taken oaths to testify in court. Many of you, perhaps, to become a citizen. Some of you to serve in the military. But all of you will take an oath at the end of your legal education, an oath to become an attorney. Some of you might think that taking an oath is just another step on your way to getting where you're going. But it's more than that. Even a child could tell you that. I think of my 9-year-old son standing in front of the computer in his green underwear, reciting the oath of the Green Lantern. I'm sure that some of you are familiar with that oath. In brightest day and blackest night, no evil shall escape my sight. Let those who worship evil's might beware my power, Green Lantern's light. I've actually always wanted to say that in public, so thank you for that. An oath to fight great evil speaks to a 9-year-old with great clarity. If I only had a ring of great power to fight for justice, I could be just like the women and men of the Green Lantern Corps. My older son is too sophisticated for such a simplistic worldview. After all, he's 13. He's read The Lord of the Rings. He knows from betrayal. He knows from human frailty. But still, when Aragorn says to Frodo, the bearer of a different kind of ring of great power, "If by my life or death I can protect you, I will. I have my sword." And Legolas adds, "I have my bow." And Gimli joins in, "And I have my axe." Even my jaded 13-year-old is moved by this scene, by this oath to protect another, to the death, if necessary. My son was saddened at the end of The Lord of the Rings when magic departs Middle-earth, leaving it to what Tolkien calls the Age of Men, an age that looks like it will be gray, plodding, pedestrian. Some might even use those words to describe parts of law school. But I tell my son, not that he believes me, I tell him that magic still exists. Words still have great power. Invisible forces, hatred and love, still move us. Oaths still matter. New York State Judiciary Law, Section 466, requires each attorney to take a constitutional oath of office in open court. The oath itself is quite simple, like a Green Lantern's. But still, it is important enough to be enshrined in the text of the New York State Constitution. It reads, "I do solemnly swear that I will support the Constitution of the United States and the Constitution of the State of New York, and that I will faithfully discharge the duties of the office of attorney and counselor at law according to the best of my ability." Built into that simple three-part oath are most certainly words of great power. Let's take it clause by clause. "I do solemnly swear that I will support the Constitution of the United States." You try it out. "I do solemnly swear that I will support the Constitution of the United States." What's it mean? First, you're agreeing to solemnly swear this oath, saying it formally, seriously, with deep sincerity. Remember that you will be in open court, standing with hundreds of other newly minted attorneys, reciting this oath together, a public acknowledgement of your commitment. Second, and most important, you are swearing to support the Constitution of the United States. You are affirming your support for a few thousand words written a long time ago. These words have since been interpreted by thousands of women and men who serve as judges in courts like this one. They continue to breathe life into those words, and those words guide us to this day. So what does it mean to support a constitution and not a particular ruler? It means, in the words of President John Adams, that you support a government of laws, not of men. Let's turn again to the oath. "I do solemnly swear that I will support the Constitution of the United States and the Constitution of the State of New York." You try it out. "I do solemnly swear that I will support the Constitution of the United States and the Constitution of the State of New York." Why do you need to support two constitutions? Why isn't the Constitution of the United States enough? Because we live in a federal system of government, one which gives us certain rights and responsibilities under state and federal law. Citizens of these United States, more so than citizens of many other nations, value this balance of power between the states and the federal government. And you will spend a lot of time in law school working to understand the strengths and weaknesses of that federal system and how it has provided us with a stable republic for so many years. Let's focus now on the last clause. "I do solemnly swear that I will support the Constitution of the United States and the Constitution of the State of New York, and that I will faithfully discharge the duties of the office of attorney and counselor of law according to the best of my abilities." You solemnly swear to faithfully discharge the duties of your office. That means you will be steadfast and resolute as an attorney. When I read these three clauses of the oath all together, I know that my cynical son is wrong. Words do have great power. Invisible forces, justice, fairness, decency can move us. Oaths still matter. But this oath is not yet for you. You need a few more years of study before you really understand what it's all about, and before the state of New York thinks that you're ready to take it. But I do think that it's safe for you to practice it, as my younger son practices the oath of the Green Lantern, in preparation for becoming a better version of yourself. Let's practice together. "I do solemnly swear that I will support the Constitution of the United States and the Constitution of the State of New York, and that I will faithfully discharge the duties of the office of attorney." I think in 2, 3, or 4 years, you'll say it even with more power. And that's what law school will be for you, training to fully understand that. While I cannot offer you a ring of great power, I know that some of you will get the foundation at Brooklyn Law School to become real heroes of the law. You will learn to use the power of the law to do much good. But I expect that all of you, that all of us, will be guardians of the law, representing your clients zealously while also fulfilling your duties as an officer of the court, standing up for the rights of citizens and other persons that are enshrined in the law, protecting our republic from forces seeking to undermine it. This is what the oath of the attorney demands of you. We depend on each new generation of lawyers to pick up the mantle from the last, to learn from the past and make it yours, and to make sure that the law is used to solve the problems of the present. So spend your time here wisely, learning the letter of the law to the best of your ability, but always in pursuit of its spirit too. We're counting on you.
Thank you, David. Now, let's hear a little about you, the amazing group of students assembled here together for the first time tonight. Again, welcome, Brooklyn Law School, entering class of 2017. Take a look around. The students sitting with you will not only be your classmates, but also potentially your colleagues, your support group, your legal network, your mentor, or even your spouse. You are among an accomplished, diverse, and inspiring group of students who bring years of dedication, passion, and initiative to our community. I'm going to mention only a few examples of how accomplished and driven your cohort is. However, in the coming years, you will learn that your fellow students are your greatest asset here at Brooklyn Law School. Take the time to forge new connections, to challenge yourself intellectually, and become immersed in all the educational, legal, and cultural opportunities that will present themselves to you during your tenure here. The 2017 entering JD class is comprised of 373 students who were selected from over 3,500 applicants from around the world. 29 of you have enrolled and already completed classes in our 2-year accelerated JD program. 312 of you have enrolled in the 3-year program, and 32 have enrolled in the extended 4-year program. In addition to the first-year students, we also open our doors to 3 new second-year students who have transferred to Brooklyn Law School. In a shrinking world with more permeable borders allowing for a greater exchange of cultures, ideas, and goods, Brooklyn Law School is proud to stand at the global frontier. This year, we welcome 22 new LLM students who come to us from 20 countries, including India, Azerbaijan, the Dominican Republic, Nigeria, Turkey, the Ukraine, and the United Kingdom. All of them hold law degrees in their home countries and have come here to gain in-depth knowledge and expertise of the American law right alongside the JD students. We also extend a welcome to 10 exchange students who will join us this year from Germany, China, the Netherlands, France, and India. In the first-year class alone, your birthplaces span 5 continents and 32 countries. In addition to that, 72 of you, 19% of the incoming class, are first-generation Americans. You speak 33 languages and dialects other than English, ranging from Arabic to German to Urdu. 63 of you, 17% of the incoming class, speak at least 3 languages. You are residents of 33 states, the District of Columbia, and 8 foreign countries. 58 of you reside in the center of the known universe, otherwise referred to as Brooklyn. Some more numbers. With a class-wide median age of 24, the youngest among you is 19, and the oldest is 50. For the student who is 19, remember that using a fake ID is a misdemeanor, and you will have to report it to the Character and Fitness Committee. For the student who is 50, using a fake AARP card is not illegal, but ethically questionable. Whether young or old, we are always pleased to see students follow in the footsteps of their relatives who are graduates of Brooklyn Law School. Tonight, we welcome 24 such students For those of you who didn't have family walk through our doors, about 1/3 of this class knows somebody who graduated from BLS. And with over 20,000 alumni, that is not surprising in the slightest. Academically, all of you are here because we know you're prepared to excel at BLS, both in the classroom and out there in the field through clinics, externships, and internships, and pro bono work. Collectively, you graduated from 193 colleges and universities, having pursued 71 different academic majors, and 31 came to BLS having earned postgraduate degrees, including MAs, MBAs, MFAs, MSWs, and PhDs. Your areas of study have been varied and unique, including such thought-provoking topics and areas of interest as a thesis titled Game and Train, a targeted game-based mobile intervention for the treatment of psychopathic offenders. A capstone research and thesis project titled The Impact of Healthcare Reform and Medicaid Redesign on Families. Research culminating in cross-sectional analysis, content analysis, secondhand data analysis, and military reports concerning cybersecurity policy and information warfare theory. A thesis titled Revolution of the Pingüinos, the collective action of Chilean high school students, and research culminating in a project comparing and contrasting the attack on collective bargaining rights in Wisconsin and Ohio in 2011 and 2012. Our current students, staff, and faculty are eager to see you apply our educational initiative, persistence, and curiosity here on campus and beyond. But our class is not only intellectually fit, we actually have some incredibly accomplished athletic and artistic superstars joining our community. We call it Brooklyn's Got Talent. Among you today are varsity football, racquetball, water polo, hockey, golf, swim, softball, and lacrosse players. A basketball coach, a Big 12 Scholar Athlete of the Year in track and field, a black belt in taekwondo, a competitive ice dancer, and one of the US's top 100 powerlifters. If you're new to Brooklyn, you should all take the advice we heard earlier today, take advantage of the newly created athletic facilities at Brooklyn Bridge Park, which were converted from old shipping piers. These include soccer fields, basketball and handball courts, an outdoor roller hockey rink, exercise machines, and a kayaking station, all of which have the gorgeous New York City skyline and Statue of Liberty serving as a backdrop. Also among you are, to name a few, a chess instructor, a classically trained vocalist who serves as an assistant cantor at our synagogue, a dancing coach specializing in Philippine national folk dance, several stand-up comedians, computer programmers, and DJs, a Quidditch player, is that a thing? And an eating contest enthusiast. If you have not yet done the Blazin' contest at the chicken wing place a few blocks away, it's worth it. You get a free t-shirt. Many of you have chosen to call Brooklyn home because our borough has become one of the leading entrepreneurial hubs in the world. We are excited about the growth, development, and innovation that has taken place in our backyard. And much like the makeup of our borough, many of you are entrepreneurs who started your own companies. Some impressive examples of your businesses include an apparel company specializing in clothing for yoga practitioners, a nonprofit organization that raises money for juvenile diabetes awareness, a China-based consulting company dedicated to providing services and connections specifically for the elderly Chinese population, a garden design company, a motivational speaking company dedicated to helping those struggling with substance abuse and other addictions, and a production and development company for film, music, video, and marketing projects. I highly recommend that all of you introduce yourself to John Rudikoff, the CEO and Managing Director of Cube. He can tell you more about our Cube Innovators Competition, which provides winners with seed money and faculty mentorship to help jumpstart their ideas. While some have created their own businesses, others have begun to carve their names in the legal and corporate worlds, holding such impressive positions as executive producer for NBC's Comedy Network, Director of Business Development of Consumer and Content Brands for AOL, Financial Reporting Analyst on Global Law and Policy for GE, Business Development Manager for Relief Watch, a tech startup, Finance Manager of Advertising Sales for Fox Networks Group, and Forensic and Investigations Associate at Deloitte. Here are several other examples of what I'm talking about. Within your class are an Army veteran who served as the sole representative of the Defense Threat Reduction Agency at the U.S. Embassy in Moscow, Russia. the program coordinator for the Office of Financial Empowerment at the New York City Department of Financial Consumer Affairs, the chief of staff for Office of Teacher Recruitment and Quality in the New York City Department of Education, a legislative analyst for the New York County District Attorney's Office, and the director of the Office of Reasonable Accommodations of the New York City Human Resources Administration. In addition to your many impressive accomplishments, I've noticed that many of you are former bartenders, brewers, and nightlife promoters. I've written down your names for the faculty in case one of us needs to hire a student worker. So many stories, experiences, and opportunities. All in all, we are enthralled with the extraordinary blend of students who've converged from the many different paths to arrive at the singular point tonight. Can you guess who is who? Well, you'll have the next 1 to 4 years to find out as you get to join the Brooklyn Law School community and become colleagues and lifelong friends. And before I introduce our next and last speaker for tonight, there's one thing we need to talk about. It's a little awkward, but here goes. Just a few months ago, I was Professor Dean. That's simple enough, but as you now know, I'm Vice Dean, which means I'm Dean Dean. Whenever I type that, it produces an angry red squiggle, because my computer thinks that's ridiculous. It's awkward for people. I get it. For answers in times like these, I look to those I look up to. And to solve this problem, I turn to someone I deeply respect, someone who is here today, smart, fearless, and this is important for a guy whose only real hobby is baking. According to Wikipedia, gender neutral. R2D2. What I propose is that we try to avoid making Microsoft Word mad by writing Dean Dean, or producing that awkward pause when you realize you're about to say something that you mean to be respectful, but sounds kind of cheeky. You may, but are by no means required, to call me D2. The 2 can be superscript, but a regular 2 works fine. And of course, R2D2 is never without C3PO. Dean Allard. I don't know if you look up to him as much as I look up to R2D2, but he is fluent in over 6 million forms of verbal communication. And of course, he's British. So our final speaker of the day, of the night, is C3PO, yeah. Our final speaker of the night is Nick Allard, who is the 8th Dean of Brooklyn Law School. Dean Allard joined our community in 2012, bringing with him a lifetime of practice, policy, and academic experience at the highest levels of private industry, educational, and government service. He's brought his boundless energy and infectious enthusiasm, shared by his wonderful wife, Marla. Perhaps most importantly, he has brought his tremendous vision for this law school and the legal profession. I am privileged to introduce him to all of you, Dean Nick Allard.
Are you D2? Oh, come on, that was pretty good. He's amazing. Did you see that? Right through an eclipse. Talk about totality. How about a big hand for our Dean of Admissions and the entire admissions staff for pulling you all together? And while I'm at it, I'd like you all to extend a hand to, I'm not going to ask them to stand up or step forward, to our incredible administrators and staff, and just remember that they are incredible. In my entire years working, I've never been involved with a group of people who are so dedicated to an institution, so professional, so accomplished, and so effective. And so when you see the school running well, There's a lot of effort and skill behind it, and don't forget ever, if you have an opportunity, to say thank you to our staff. So I asked my youngest child, Tyler, who graduated from law school in May, what I should say to you. He sent me a postcard. The postcard featured a gargoyle, presumably from an academic institution someplace, that was obviously depicting a person in agony. The postcard bore a caption that read, "Why study? The more I study, the more I know. The more I know, the more I forget. The more I forget, the less I know. So why study?" Not helpful. But I forgive him. His highly functioning brain is still fried from having taken the bar exam in July, so I'll give him a pass. But let me give it a try and speak to you a little bit about why anybody should study law. I usually say at this point, you don't let anybody say we waste any time getting you into a courtroom at Brooklyn Law School. Tonight we wasted a little bit of time. But while you were waiting, and I'm not making this up, and some of you might have seen her, young woman with a little girl, I think she was about 2.5 years old, in a stroller, passed by the line of you as you were waiting. And I heard her, some of us heard her daughter ask her, "What's this, Mommy?" And I kid you not, her mom said, "This is the future of America." I'm not making this up. Well, first, congratulations and thank you, sincerely. Today, you are beginning to learn how to use the power of law to fulfill both the private and public roles that lawyers perform for the benefit of all of us, our families and neighbors, our communities, our nation, and the world. You're starting your preparation preparation to use what you learn in law school at a rare pivotal moment in history, a time when lawyers are needed as much as any era ever before. You're needed to uphold and advance the rule of law that is crucial to a civil society and the continuation of our long, enduring democratic republic. You need to explain and uphold a system of limited self-government which requires the informed consent of the governed, consent which is freely given if the rule of law is understood to be preferable to being ruled by force, power, privilege, or serendipity. This, by the way, this civic legal education function is near and dear to the heart of our Chief Judge and fabulous speaker tonight. You're also needed to promote commerce, the well-being of the planet, economic growth, and also to spur the ceaseless, difficult pursuit of equal justice, freedom, and peace. What divides people and puts our future at risk now, here in the United States and abroad, is injustice, it's poverty, ignorance, hopelessness, and fear. These are problems you aspiring lawyers can and will be ready to do something about. So let that be your first lesson in law school. For this is what lawyers do, and this is what our great law school has always prepared its graduates to do, and what our alumni do as leaders in their richly varied fields. We're also experiencing at this moment a critical historic time demanding moral clarity. Debating the parameters of lawful assembly is a different topic. Our government officials, regardless of party, as well as leaders in business, clergy, science and technology, the arts, and yes, educators and certainly students, particularly law students, can and must express their views about prejudice, hatred, threats of violence, and intolerance when called upon to do so by events. Indeed, it's wrong, fundamentally wrong, if one is able and has a voice that can be heard to be silent at this time. As to lawful assembly and free speech, we can and will at our school this fall and throughout the year have a lively debate, and you'll learn a lot about fighting words and incitement among many legal topics arising from the cascading swirl of upsetting incidents and alarming news. That very important legal discussion about the constitutional free speech underpinnings of protest, dissent, and holding government accountable must not excuse us or distract us from expressing clearly the immorality of prejudice, bigotry, and inequality. However, relevant case law on the key constitutional issues is abundant and will be thoroughly discussed. To paraphrase the orange elephant in the room, I promise you that. Come on. That doesn't count. That's a mercy clap. It doesn't count. So other than that, how do you do, fellow kids? Now, I know that sounds as ridiculous as it did when those words were uttered in the 30 Rock scene by actor Steve Buscemi while wearing a T-shirt reading music band, a backwards baseball cap, and carrying a skateboard, trying to pass as young and hip. I mean, after all, it's foolish for me to act like I know all about you, and in fact, there's a lot I just don't get about you. You take pictures of your food. I mean, what's that all about? I mean, you text people sitting next to you, like Harry and Paul in the 8th row back there. I saw you. Some of you are real used to being cared for and protected. I mean, some of you put on SPF 30 sunblock to watch an eclipse that was in South Carolina on television. Well, actually, I do know a few things about you. You don't fit stereotypes like the ones I just mentioned. You're each unique with marvelously varied backgrounds, talents, and passions, and I know that you will learn, grow, and change at law school. I know that you take a more consumerist attitude towards education, good for you, more so than previous educations, and you no doubt will be quick to let us know whether your expectations are or are not being met. Be gentle. You have high expectations for success and even for greatness, and to your credit, many of you are drawn to engage in public service, and you're open and sensitive to diverse people and experiences. I know that in our school you will meet people who are like you and also many people who are different. This duality will offer comfort and security while stretching you and teaching you things about the world we live in that cannot be taught by books alone. I also know this about you. You're ready. You would not have been admitted if we did not believe, for good reason, that you had the ability and personal qualities required to graduate, pass the bar exam, and be licensed, and to succeed in the myriad careers that are possible to pursue in the practice of law. Finally, I know that you've chosen your law school wisely. Our alumni have this in common. They arrived at Brooklyn Law School with ambition, purpose, and they worked very hard. You're going to work very hard. Because of this effort, they and you were able, and you will be able, to take full advantage of our faculty offering outstanding, memorable teaching, exposure to cutting-edge research and scholarship, innovative, rigorous practical training, writing and critical thinking skills, and lots of experience. This education that you are about to undertake is what affords our graduates confidence in the ability to figure things out, which is noticed and leads to success both when you start and throughout your careers. Now, it's easy to prove my point, even though it's true that my oldest son, Nate, who's also a lawyer, and is pretty funny too, once famously said at a big law school gathering that I put the BS in BLS. It's true. That he said it. Consider the sterling example set by Wanda Denson Lowe, 81. And you heard about her incredible background. That is amazing, and it wasn't all of her resume. I should take this moment really to acknowledge with gratitude that she made it possible, together with her husband Ron Lowe, who was one of the great leaders in the Asian community in America. Through their generosity, they made it possible for you each to receive without charge a copy of the incredible book, Judging Statutes, which I hope you've had a chance to glass over. Thank you very much for making that possible. You know, you heard from the Student Bar Association president, Giancarlo Menendez, who's a terrific student leader and a great student. You heard that he's a triple legacy, that his grandfather and father both attended this school. His grandfather served in World War II. He was one of the first Dominican-American members of the New York State Bar. He practiced immigration law, and he helped Adriano Espaillat and his entire family get their green cards. Espaillat later became the first Dominican-American member of Congress. His father, also Antonio Martinez, is of counsel at Gersman, Schwartz, and Melito, and he's a graduate of Cornell. He's recognized as one of the foremost legal authorities on U.S.-Cuba relations in the Northeast, and we see him often at the law school participating in events as well as in a leader in the bar in this state and the country. Now just think for a moment of two alumni who are literally a world apart. Judge Rachel Fryer, class of '05, is the first elected Hasidic Jewish female judge, and in fact the first elected Hasidic judge official, first elected Hasidic woman official of any kind in the entire history of the United States, ever. And think of Hannah Cao, class of '03, 13,000 miles away in Beijing, who is the Deputy General Counsel of China's $400 billion infrastructure investment Silk Road Fund, and recently was recognized by Thomson Reuters as the best in-house counsel in China. Not Rockland County, New York, where Marla and I went to high school, China. Not too shabby. Last semester, Judge Fryer said at a program we held in her honor that her Brooklyn Law School education made her career possible. She also said at first she wondered whether, as an Orthodox Jewish woman, she would fit in and be comfortably supported when she arrived at law school. When she walked into class and saw Professor Aaron Twersky, she immediately felt at ease. Now, for those of you who don't know, and you soon will know and spot him, he's very recognizable. He dresses in the traditional Orthodox apparel with a large hat, a yarmulke, coat, white beard, payas. He always comes to these events. His plane was delayed. He's just arrived back in New York from Brooklyn, from Israel, and he sends his regrets. Now, interestingly, Hannah Cao in China told Professor Gerber and also some very senior, powerful China officials that she, too, could not do what she does at the Silk Road Fund without a Brooklyn education. But Hannah, like Rachel, also said that she wondered whether she would fit in, even though there are many Chinese in Brooklyn and many Asians at BLS. Professor Gerber and I almost fell out of our seats when she explained that she felt completely at ease as soon as she walked into Professor Twersky's class. Seeing his big black hat, his flowing white beard, his overcoat, she said she felt like she was being taught by Dumbledore at Hogwarts in a Harry Potter movie. So when I say to you we have that you made a terrific decision to attend our great law school, think of, for a moment, two other priceless assets that can benefit you for the rest of your career. Think about each other, everyone in this room. You each will challenge, support, and learn from each other. You will all have these fine colleagues who will follow our tradition and themselves become stars. They will be your alumni network for your entire career and beyond. I don't have to warn you not to blow it and be jerks because, well, I constantly hear what good friends our students are to each other. But even if you are tempted to have sharp, nasty elbows, you'll be shortchanging yourself. Celebrate each other's success. Don't whine. Figure things out. Be kind, supportive, and play well in the sandbox. I'm also certain you will relish, admire, learn from, and long treasure our faculty. As an amuse-bouche of the intellectual feast that awaits you, listen as I thank Judge Robert Katzman for his presence and inspiring leadership with gifts of just a small sample of 6 books published by faculty authors very recently in the last year. First, I give you former Vice Dean and Professor Bill Ariza's book, Animus, a timely, brilliant book about constitutional prohibitions of animus towards particular groups, written by one of the truly wonderful and caring people in legal education. A brand new book, hot off the press, by 2 other Vice Deans, former Vice Dean, personal favorite of mine, Professor Dana Brackman-Reeser, and current Vice Dean and Professor Stephen Dean, your Master of Ceremonies. Their book, Social Enterprise Law, is at the cutting edge of a relatively new and explosively growing field. Now, this is not fake news, but here in my hand is actually a fake copy of the book, because Social Enterprise Law was literally released today. We have made the cover, sorta, and inside the phony book jacket is actually a riveting copy of the history of the first 100 years of Brooklyn Law School. Judge Katzman, you may keep it. I have plenty of copies. It's not a big mover. I'll get you a real copy of the new book very soon. Professor Chris Beecham's Invented by Law is a fabulous history of America, clothed in a brilliant treatment of patent law and innovation. It's a real page-turner. I know. I read it on the beach with a large dark rum in hand. Don't tell anybody. Professor Heidi Brown's Introverted Lawyer. You may have seen her letter to the editor in the New York Times on Monday or last Monday about giving voice to quieter, thoughtful lawyers. This book is thoughtful, empathetic, groundbreaking, and it speaks volumes about our new director of legal research and writing. So many of them. Well, Professor Sabeel Rahman's Democracy Against Dominance is a seminal, timely study of the great challenges and imperatives of modern democracy. It's written at the start of an already brilliant career. The author has more degrees than the sun is unlikely to be eclipsed. Professor Nelson Tebbe's Religious Freedom in an Egalitarian Age is an important book by a truly powerful and original thinker. It charts a persuasive path for navigating the false dichotomy of religious freedom and equal rights. So, there you are. Chief Judge Katzman, also a phenomenal author in his own right and a scholar. You heard about his many distinctions and awards. I would note that a short while ago, a few days ago, at the annual ABA meeting at a dinner in his honor, that he received the Thurgood Marshall Award, recognizing individual commitment in word and action to the cause of civil rights in this country. Many of the people from our law school were privileged to be there to help celebrate this achievement, and on that very special occasion, the representatives of our school expressed our law school's great respect and admiration for Chief Judge Katzman, his tireless dedication to advancing justice and the rights of all who seek the blessings of freedom and liberty. And we invoked the words of Justice Thurgood Marshall, who said, "None of us got where we are solely by pulling ourselves up by our bootstraps. We got here because somebody bent down and helped us pick up our boots." So motivated and informed by Chief Judge Katzman, our faculty, alumni, and by each other, awake to the power of law to lift us all up together and stay woke.
All right, as you've already seen, it's going to be an adventure. Very something unexpected. I want to welcome you again. The last thing I want to say, may the force be with you.